Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Cam, aka, and you're listening to some of my unreleased music on the Cooper Brunner podcast. Make it a day.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cooper Brunner podcast.
Woo!
It's your co-host Kirsten McCallum here. Today we have a new guest, our first female. Super excited.
Let's go!
Megan Smith. We also have Cooper Brunner, of course.
You know it. What up?
So today's episode is going to be pretty interesting. We're going to go over mortgage. Megan is a mortgage professional. She's also an All-American soccer athlete.
Dope. Let's go. Give her the credentials. Give her the credentials.
So Megan is one of my good friends. Her boyfriend is actually my coworker. She's an amazing person, one of the kindest people I've ever met. Super athletic, super excited to have her on. She's going to drop some knowledge on you guys about, mortgages and what that looks like as a young person trying to buy a home. So without further ado, here's Megan Smith.
Hi. Okay, so I know Kirsten through Drew, my boyfriend. They work together at Siemens. It's a fun little engineering company. I hear all about it. I actually met Kirsten at their graduation, and so they both graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, and I met Drew at SOU where I went to college, and then he went up to Oregon State, and so that's kind of how I first was introduced to Kirsten. And now that they work together, I see her around quite a bit. So yeah, it's kind of the deal, and I think we're gonna get into some questions here.
So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Sacramento, California. Actually, technically Elk Grove, but Nobody really has heard of Elk Grove, so I say Sacramento. Yeah.
It's easier. It's more easily to identify Sacramento. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Just to jump in, where is SOU? Is that in Ashland? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep, it's the place that you drive straight through when you're on the way down to California.
No one ever
Next best thing to
3
California.
Exits. Huge theater festival.
Yep, it's known for Shakespeare. That's
There we go.
it.
If you guys are into Shakespeare, SOU
Mm-hmm.
guys.
Yep.
So being an athlete, no one just starts at the college level. Where did you start? Like growing up, what sports did you play? How did you get into athletics?
Yeah, so growing up, I probably played about 10 different sports, like softball, volleyball. My mom said I was a gymnast until I got too tall. They were like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing this. Basketball, swimming, cross country, track, pretty much anything you can think of. Does ping pong count? I don't know.
A natural athlete,
yeah.
to say the least.
I don't know. And then I kind of stuck with soccer and running. So those were the sports. Soccer I started when I was 4, actually. Wow. So I was pretty young.
I feel like every young kid starts with soccer. Just
yeah.
Parents are like, T-ball, soccer,
yep.
Here you go.
They were, I didn't like softball, but soccer was the one that I kind of stuck with. Softball wasn't enough running for me. Mm-hmm. And then soccer just was enough running plus more, plus I just kind of kept gaining quick. So,
did you play high school? Did you play a club team? How did you really develop your skills as a soccer athlete?
I started out playing recreational when I was really young. Actually, so the way it works down in California, and I think it's the same in Oregon, but you start out recreational and then you can go, there's different levels. So you can go select or competitive, or you can go up even higher at kind of a US level, and you can travel a lot more. But I started out as recreational, and competitive soccer wasn't even really a thing until I was 9, I think. And I tried out for my first competitive team around that age and made it, and just kind of played competitive ever since.
Trying out at 9?
Yeah.
Super competitive.
That is not something that you see in Oregon.
It's crazy. No, it's super. And that was when it first came out. And I mean, I was traveling to Vegas and LA a bunch. And so it was a traveling competitive team. Okay. High school was kind of a joke for us. High school soccer, it was fun.
Right.
Did you play on the team?
I played on the team. I actually ran track in high school too, my senior year, but mostly played soccer. I played all 4 years in high school, but we we didn't really get recruited out of high school. Like, you can get recruited out of high school soccer, but you mostly go play competitive and go and travel, and you go to these tournaments where there's like hundreds of college coaches just watching for specifically recruiting their players.
I remember in high school, a lot of my friends were doing like the Surfs Cup. Does that sound familiar?
That's, like,
that's
the
in
biggest
Vegas,
one.
right? Yeah, that's where all the colleges go.
San Diego, I think.
Or maybe it's San Diego.
But there's another huge Vegas one.
Yeah.
Those were like the big, like, I always guest play it on older teams too, just to go down there each year.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were.
Did you ever play against ODP? Or Oregon Development Program, I think that's what it's called. A lot of my friends were on that.
Olympic Development Program.
Development. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried out for ODP, and I played on there for a little bit, but I just really liked my club team, so I didn't stick with it. It was a lot more traveling and just a lot more involved, and I never really got into it.
Gotcha. So from your club team, obviously you're being looked at to play college ball. Who offered you? Like, did you go visit? What did the recruiting process into college soccer look like?
Yeah. Now that I look back, I definitely could have done a lot more to be recruited. I went to a lot of the tournaments and I was seen there, and I talked to some of the coaches and emailed some of them and, told them what my GPA was and told them like why I wanted to go to that school and small things. But I was in high school. I didn't really know how the process worked. And looking back now, I could have definitely been way more proactive. But all of the schools that I visited and schools that I was thinking of committing to or got offers on, were mostly in California, and then SOU in Oregon. And then there was one school on the East Coast somewhere. It was like an all-girls school.
Yeah, that's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Hard sell.
Hard nope.
I mean, it would have been fun, I'm sure, but I
was there an all-boys school right next door?
Yeah, please, a block away.
Yeah.
That's a divide. Anyways. So then my next question leads to why SOU?
SOU, it's interesting. I would have never chosen SOU if I hadn't been recruited for soccer there. I probably wouldn't have even known it existed to this point. Like, I probably wouldn't even live in Oregon. But I was like, I kind of want to get out of California and just like travel and look at these other schools. And, like the one school that happened to be interested in me from Oregon, I was like, yeah, it's 4 hours away. Like, let's just go for a weekend, see what it's like, meet the girls, meet the coach. And I remember my first day there, we first get there, we exit 11 and we get up there, check in at our hotel, and then we go to walk downtown, and I walk past someone on the street and they like smile and wave at me, and I was like,
what is this?
Dad, like, is something wrong? Did I do something wrong? And we just realized like everybody was so nice there and everybody was so like that. And so I just kind of and then the mountains surrounding the school and the skiing mountain like 30 minutes away, and
Shasta's super close.
Southern Oregon is beautiful.
Yeah, the waterfalls.
Klamath Falls.
Little did I know the wine.
Yeah, bingo.
So now we know.
Now I know the wine.
Sometimes it doesn't even feel like Oregon, really. Like the Klamath area, I don't feel like I'm in Oregon. Like it feels more in Northern California.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
anywhere.
really cool. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Anywhere in Southern. So I don't know. I loved the girls. I loved the town. I liked the vibe.
Yeah.
It's kind of a small hippie town, and
For
sports
sure.
are really big there, and all the athletes are really close knit. And so I just that's what I chose. I was really happy with it.
Good.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So I'm not super familiar with soccer. I mean, obviously I played as a kid. I don't know if you played.
I was a little like runner. Like I could tell or know why my parents chose soccer first, because I was high energy. Now I am still, but I'm always running around. Yeah, now I'm a runner. Huh, who knew? But
nice.
I loved soccer. It was fun. That's where I met a lot of my friends that I know now. And we still joke about, now, like, wow, like, do you remember being on the same soccer team as kids, like, in the summer, going to, like, we had, what were those camps called? Like, Hawk, like, Eagle, I forgot what it was called, but we had these camps that were so ridiculous here locally. But, soccer was just a good time.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's always a good time.
What position did you play?
Center back.
What does
pretty
that?
much
What does that
primarily.
mean?
Oh, okay. Center back, sweeper, center defender, like all those words are interchangeable, but basically you have 11 players on the field on each side, and you have your goalie, and then we played with 3 defenders or 4 defenders, depending on the year, and so the center back would be like the center defender right in front of the goalie, so the last person that the forwards reach when they're attacking us. So it was always like,
sorry if we offended any soccer fans out here. We don't really know, but Megan's explaining it.
Ourselves.
Oh no, you guys are fine.
I kind of know.
It's just like the biggest sport in the world.
Yeah,
no big deal.
The other football.
I actually don't really follow like professional soccer very much. Just the Timbers.
It's tough to stick with it.
Yeah,
I love the Timbers though.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch.
Oh my gosh, the games are like most fun event to ever do in Portland. Like,
yeah, the
anybody
Thorns
who
and the
comes.
Timbers.
Yeah,
I haven't
They're
been to
good.
a Thorns game. I've been to a Timbers game. They're a good time.
yeah.
Have you been to a Thorns game?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're a lot of fun. Nike gets. I know you guys were like working with Nike a little bit. Sometimes they have like, I think they have passes and stuff. I don't exactly know, but yeah, Thorns and Timbers. If you can get a ticket to the game,
go.
The culture there, Portland just embraces those teams.
Yeah, I
Plus
mean,
it helps that they're good, you know. But
if you fly and you're wearing like Timbers gear, they'll usually let you board early. That's how big of a culture it is here.
Oh really?
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I flew Alaska a lot, and they're like, if you're wearing a Timbers jersey, Timbers shirt,
Makes
whatever,
sense.
like, go ahead and board before everyone else.
Keep that in mind.
Great marketing tactic for
cool.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Everybody wear Timbers gear on your flights.
Always,
seriously.
always and forever.
So, I mean, student athlete, going to college, traveling for sports. What was that like? From, we've had a lot of like guys give their perspective. What is it like being a female, being a student athlete? Going to school and, working out.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and then, on top of that, I actually worked a lot during college.
Okay.
Wow.
So it was quite a bit, but honestly, I think I got more done as far as school-wise, because school is obviously the most important reason why I was there, soccer aside. And I think I got more done school-wise because I was playing soccer. It put me on such a tight schedule, especially with work on top of that I didn't really have time to add things in. And I knew that when it was study time, it was study time. Like afterwards, after soccer was done, I had actually about a term where I didn't really have anything to do. And I found myself slacking a little bit more. And I was like, I think like this is just weird. This is like the opposite of how it should be. But I think I was able to multitask and just be a lot more productive,
knowing that you
being
had
an
to
athlete.
be.
Yeah. And like now I still work out every day. I still take that much time out of my day, but then I got to do it with my friends, and I was like I was able to work out. I shouldn't say forced. Sometimes it felt like forced, but I was able to work out, and I got a free workout every morning with my best friends. Got it done, out of the way. It was a hard workout, was in the best shape of my life. And,
what does a soccer workout look like?
It would differ day to day. Like in the beginning of season, we'd actually do double or triple days. So where we'd do like a run in the morning and then technical work mid-morning and then take a nap, eat.
Take a nap. I would too.
Naps are key.
I did that too. You have to. You're drained.
And then we do like a scrimmage in the afternoon. So that would kind of be like a longer day during season when we'd be doing one practice a day. We would it was kind of a combination of the 3. So we'd start out with a warm up and do some technical work and then get into like, either kind of maybe 7v7 or 4v4, like some little like drills, and then end with sprints sometimes, and
situational work.
Yeah, whatever we needed to work on. Sometimes we'd split defense and forwards and mids apart.
Did you guys ever add like any weight training or in?
We did during winter, so we do winter weights. We didn't do that much during season. Especially not upper body. It was a lot of legs.
Yeah, for the endurance and explosion.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, what you were saying about when you're more busy, that's when you're more on top of things, could not be more accurate.
Oh, that's
I
me,
felt like
100%.
that when I was playing ball. I played at Oregon State for a
really?
year. And man, like when I look at my schedule, like my planner, it was literally by every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Get up, go work out, hitting practice, eat, go to class, lunch, practice, and then like film, and then practice, and then study. Like that was, like that's crazy.
And
but
you have to make it work, and you just do
exactly.
somehow. Yeah.
You just form a habit. Like going back to working out, like when you're done, like I felt kind of lost when I was done for a little bit, and I was like, man, like I had this routine of training, but someone was telling me to go train. Yeah. And then when I stopped, I had like a weird moment. And then when I kind of lost myself, like I kind of got chubby, and then I got back into it, and I was like, man, this is why I just love it. It was a habit that I formed that it keeps me sane.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you are with your training, but when I get done with a run, like at lunch now, I feel great.
Oh,
like just mentally, I feel good.
Like runner's high?
Yeah. I've like felt the runner's high. I kind of feel like it's a placebo. But what I feel when I run is just accomplishment. I just call that accomplishment. I don't get like a second wind when I run, but like maybe a good tune will come on. I'll be like, oh, let's go.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But everyone has different opinion on that.
So
Definitely.
Drew, Megan's boyfriend, sits right across from me, and he goes, come here. And I go, what's up? And he shows me his phone. It's a screenshot from Megan. She casually just runs 9 miles through downtown Portland the other day.
Wow, no shit. That's crazy.
I'm training for a half marathon right now.
Which one?
Well, I was going to do the Shamrock, but I'm going to be gone on a
doing.
business trip. So, oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm doing the Shamrock
cool.
with some buddies.
The half marathon?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I wish I would have known. We could have run it together.
I know. I'm super pumped about it. I've never
Yeah.
done anything like it, so we'll see
me
how
either.
it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, just behind a soccer ball.
Right, with the amount of running.
I know. Yeah, it's like.
So which
6
one are you
miles
going to
a
be
game.
doing then?
So I don't have another one lined up because
there's a marathon down in Eugene.
There's Eugene
coming
Marathon.
up.
That's a
It's
pretty
probably
big
going
one.
to be a half marathon as well.
Yeah. Do you know what it's called?
I don't know what it's called.
It's just I'm pretty sure it's just called the Eugene Marathon.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
in
April
April.
5th, 17th.
Yeah, I think it's April.
17th.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look
Yeah.
into that. I set a date on my calendar to do a half marathon on my own the following weekend. So I don't know. I was like, I'm really sad that I can't make the Shamrock, and I'm glad I didn't sign up because I don't think it's
They don't refund.
refundable.
Yeah.
But now I'm just gonna do it on my own and push myself and see if I can do it. And
Yeah. Do you interval run or do you stay one pace?
well, I don't usually interval run because I
Yeah.
still play soccer.
Okay.
So that kind of takes care of that type of workout for the week. But every once in a while I'll go out and still do sprints.
Because I know like high level runners that are literally competing for time in marathons. They'll do like thresholds and they'll do different splits. They'll run the straights and like maybe low intensity around the curves, like on the track. And then you see like a Cam Hanes or like a high level ultra runner that is strictly not worried about pace. They just you just got to keep going.
Go for
you
distance.
Like
Yeah.
they're doing like 50Ks and like 100 milers. Like those people don't have to worry. They have to have the muscular endurance. And so I've been looking into ways to improve my pace because I want to qualify for Boston because I'm just going for it. I'm like, you know what? Like I'm still at like pretty close to my peak performance, I would say, where I could get to that point and like screw it. Like if I'm gonna run, like I'm like all in type of person. Like if I'm gonna get into like a running thing like that, like I don't really like running, so I'm just gonna like push myself to like the extreme.
Hell yeah.
And so I don't know if that like what's better, you know? Like do you interval or like do you just have your legs have to get to that point?
I don't know. Ask me in a year because I feel like recently I've been like picking up my miles and I can definitely feel it. You know, I have to do something different, but I think hills help me. Hills have helped me in the past.
For sure.
And that's some type of interval. You know, it's a change up. So yeah, but soccer really helps.
Yeah,
I mean,
change
just
of
still playing
speeds,
soccer
for sure.
Changing, cutting, like building up different muscles, and then building up the endurance while you're still having fun. You don't realize you're doing it as much, but the next run you're like, oh, I feel a little bit better now.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
for sure.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd
Yeah,
be curious
maybe we
to hear
can revisit this.
Get a runner on next and ask them. Get like an ultra runner.
No, I've been reaching out to a few people locally, so we'll see when we can get somebody on. Cool. But yeah, I've just done my research, and I know a lot of people do intervals. That's been the key for speed.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We're getting into running, guys.
Running.
We'll see where this goes.
So, back to college real quick. What did you study? Because this is going to lead us into our next topic.
That's a good question. I started out as a biochem major, which has nothing to do with mortgages.
Yeah, wow, that totally flipped a 180.
Yep. and then I switched to a pre-nursing degree, kind of like a degree. It was just pre-nursing courses. And then I actually ended up graduating with a psychology degree. So I changed my major a few times as I kind of changed my direction and what I wanted to do.
For sure, that's totally normal. I did the same thing. I came in with pharmacy for a year. Yeah, I talk about busy. I was so freaking busy in labs.
Oh yeah, a lot of memorization.
And then went from pharmacy school, did all the chem classes to, well, not pharmacy school, pre-pharm, and then finance the year after. So totally flipped scripts.
Did you take 5 years, or did you end up doing it in 4?
I took some summer courses every year. Oh, wow. So I was fortunate enough to come to school early my freshman year. So we got like 8 credits busted out by coming in early for fall ball, Oregon State, and then that led to me finishing all of like the prereqs. Okay. Like you're like what do they call them? Like basically like the classes you need to get your associates, like your back core, I guess. Yeah. We call them back core. Yeah, back core. And then I was already way ahead on that, and so I could pretty much coast by my senior year because I was taking on like 18 credits a term.
That's awesome.
It was bizarre.
Wow, good for you.
Crazy, yeah.
Hey, that'll keep you busy, especially being an athlete for a year.
Yeah.
Too, on top of that.
It's just 1 year, but we'll take it. Yeah.
Once an athlete, always an athlete.
Yeah.
So you graduate with a psychology degree, right? Mm-hmm. And then you end up being a mortgage professional. Mm-hmm. 2 completely opposite ends of the spectrum here.
Yes.
So how do you go from psychology to being a mortgage professional?
I knew graduating with a psych degree that I didn't necessarily want to just be a counselor. I mean, that's what everybody thinks they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
They're like, okay, like next step, go get my master's and then become a counselor. But I knew that wasn't the path for me. And I knew I'd always liked math, and I knew I'd always liked customer service.
Yeah.
And I honestly had no clue on what the heck I was going to do. I was like, I worked at a coffee shop graduating college, and
like the most bougie coffee shop downtown Portland.
Oh yeah. It's the best. Cafe Umbria. Try it out.
Okay.
It's great.
All right.
It's a cute little Italian.
Yeah. Totally.
Family owned. Yeah. It's branching out now too. Anyways.
Cool. Yeah. So you didn't really know what you want to do, but you had your degree and you're just trying to figure it out. You knew your strengths, and here you are. And
so. I just asked, actually, I used the coffee shop kind of as leverage as I was choosing a career path. And I asked a lot of people about what they like day to day about their job, and, the positives and the negatives. And
such a smart idea.
And just like networked and talked to a few realtors and was like, oh, like that sounds interesting. Like the kind of the freedom behind the job and the housing market, like that's always interested me. But the real estate side just didn't seem like exactly what I wanted to do. And so, especially with all the travel and everything involved. So I ended up kind of landing on this great opportunity at a mortgage company. And
which
took
company?
That. I started out at Cherry Creek Mortgage.
Okay.
Yeah. And then later on, the manager that I was with, we moved to Fairway Mortgage. So that's where I'm at now. And I'm really happy with that company.
Good.
That's great.
And so you had to get licensed for that, right? Mm-hmm. What does that licensing process look like? And how long does it take to study for that? So, because I want to show our listeners, like, just because you get a certain degree doesn't mean that, a different career path is not a possibility.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. It wasn't, looking back now, it wasn't that hard. At the time, it was definitely, if you've taken college courses and you've studied for tough exams, like it was definitely a tough exam. And I think it was mostly because it was stuff that I just wasn't used to. I'd never taken any like law courses or anything like that. And so it was a lot of law regulations, you know, just like memorizing acronyms that I'd never heard before and how to do certain math problems. There's a lot of math and there were a lot of double negatives on the test. And it was just like, you know, a little bit intuitive, but also a lot of memorization and a lot of like number of days and just very specific. It took probably about a month-ish to study for.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah, probably a little bit longer than that.
But like still, like congrats. That's tough. I have had a lot of friends like fail those. I mean, me personally, I failed my health life in like the insurance general one, like long term. Or I can't even think of the terms right now. But yeah, it's a lot of work like that. And the mortgage licensing, you know, you really gotta put the time in. Really, that's all it is. Like there's no sweet shortcut to it. You know.
Yeah. I actually did fail my first time, so I took it twice.
Which
I
is
failed
fine.
My first time.
Yeah, like you gotta like
for it now.
just like the driver's license test. No one wants to admit that they failed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good learning experience. Like it taught me what I needed to focus on, and it, you know, I learned a lot more the second time, and that was great. And they give you 3 hours, which almost like psychs you out. You really don't need that long. Just like click through them, you know the answers, like get done. And I wasn't studying the right stuff in the beginning because there's a lot of different ways that you can study. So the second time I did a lot more test questions and just kind of studied the stuff that I didn't the first time, and I did really well. So
go for it.
Let me ask you this too, because a lot of my friends that are like in, or not a lot of, I have a few friends that are in like mortgage real estate, Trent being one of them. He talks about like, sure, like the test itself teaches you quite a bit, but one of the biggest things is your team and the people around you really showing you how the market works, how people work. Like how beneficial has the test been for you in regards to like what you do day to day? Like, is it kind of just a mark of like how serious you are to getting into this? Or, you know, like you learn the basics and the fundamentals, but like how valuable was that test? Like,
day to day, I don't use much from the test, honestly. Yeah, I think it was a mark of like, hey, are you willing to study for this exam? Like, are you investing your time? And you know, is this really what you want to do? Because you're dealing with someone's financial life, like the biggest purchase they're ever going to make. So yeah, you better, you know at least like the regulations behind stuff. And I feel like that was the biggest part. But day to day, I feel like the biggest thing I use is like the acronyms and the amount of days between certain steps in the process. But other than that, you know, we really don't, at least not in a very specific term, like cover what was covered in the test. And the calculations now, a lot of those can be done automatically, which
you have software to do
is a positive and a negative. I mean, now I know how to do all those small, and I know how to explain them to people. I know how to do all the small loan calculations, but on a day-to-day basis, you know, my system does it for me. So.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the consumer like cares about the numbers too, but they also care about the person like that's taking care of all that. You know, like it's more of a relationship building. I would say, but you know, give your opinion on that.
Which gives my next question is like, obviously this is a very client-based industry. Coming out, you know, being a young individual, you're maybe, you know, helping someone make the biggest purchase of their life. They're trusting you with their finances. Like, how did you start bringing in clients?
In the beginning, it was really tough, you know, being a young female in an older male dominated industry is different than people are used to. I think Portland's a good market for that. You know, I think people are more willing to work with someone who maybe doesn't fit in as much in their industry. And so that worked to my advantage a bit. But, you know, being young, a lot of my friends are at the first time homebuyer age. And after I got a couple client transactions under my belt, I think that helped a lot too, just kind of build my credibility and, you know, show that, okay, she's actually doing this. And then with time, you know, and word of mouth and friend referrals and stuff. Like that's kind of how it started while I was building my real estate agent partnerships.
Okay.
So.
Did you have like a mentor along the way to kind of help you with each step and like build a client list, and then, you know, just kind of like putting yourself out there? Here's how you deal with these types of situations.
Yeah. I actually have my current mentor right now. She's been phenomenal. Her name is also Megan. I'm Megan number 2.
Megan squared.
Yeah. I don't take the Megan number 1 name, but I'm Megan number 2. And she's really taught me, you know, she's taught me how to set a goal. I wasn't very good at that in the beginning. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to do these things day to day and hope that, because the industry is weird. You don't really have a set schedule. Like, you're commission based. You just go get business. But I'm not a salesperson. Like, I'm not just going to make cold calls. Like, I don't like that. That makes me uncomfortable to get them. So I don't want to make those calls like that, just to people that I don't know. So I just kind of spent time reaching out to my database, and she told me, like, just, you know, set goals, like reach out to this many people per day and just tell them what you do. And like, that's an easy thing, you know? And then she started to set financial goals for me. Like, hey, you know, if you want to make this much this year, this is how many loans you have to close. And, this is kind of like how many leads you have to get per week. And so I think being a numbers person and liking goals, I think that really helped in the beginning. And yeah, I
feel like the stigma with real estate in general is, when I think of a real estate person, I think of the guy on Instagram that's like super high energy, that's super salesy and like money driven. And from my own hot take on this, I would feel like the person that succeeds in this space is the person that wants to educate their audience really what are the steps to take, and like showing the consistency day to day. Like, you're trying to show as much as you can to them, because you want to be a master in your field and you want to build close relationships. Like, when you're reaching out to family, friends, you're not maybe directly asking them like, hey, do you need help with your financials? You're more so asking like, hey, like, not my sales pitch right now, but saying like, hey, do you know anybody that maybe wants to learn about the real estate market, or is looking maybe for a house, or, you know, like just giving your name out there. Like, I hate the people on LinkedIn that are just like, hey guys, friends and family, like, I just got certified, like, hit me up if you have any, like, you just don't win like that. It's more like low key, like,
you gotta earn people's trust,
educating people with like not even saying like, this is what I do, just saying this is what the market is doing. And then maybe someone will DM you and be like, hey, like, that is super interesting, like, can I learn more, kind of thing. Like, I don't know, what's your hot take on what's helped you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I've done those like blast posts, I guess.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
To where I've been like, this is what I do, or like, this is what rates are doing, or here's a cute picture of my puppy, and here's a mortgage tip. Like,
yeah,
I've done a couple of those.
It's not bad at all. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think like first-time homebuyer classes have really helped me learn, and have really helped me teach, and those have, you know, taken in, and phone conversations with people that last an hour. Like, maybe they won't use me, or maybe, you know, it'll take them a year to buy a house, but like the education part, you're right, is I think the biggest value add, and it makes me feel good. It makes them happy. It makes them feel good. They just, you know, learned a lot about their huge future purchase. And I think that it's more of a long game, which is fine. And it took me a little bit longer to start picking things up, but I think like because of that reason, and I took the time to learn, and I wasn't just looking to close the next deal, you know, it was more like, yeah, you're right. I think people really appreciate education. And I have to be educated to educate. So it takes a long time to build up that knowledge base. And there's a lot to learn in the industry.
Oh, definitely.
There's a lot. It's changing every day too.
For sure. So it kind of leads us to our next topic, is educating our audience on like what, you know, a mortgage looks like. So first step, pre-approval. What does that mean, and what does that look like?
Yeah. So a pre-approval, there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of beliefs, and lenders do it differently. It depends lender to lender, but me personally, I like to have an initial phone conversation, or if the person's not available and just wants to submit an application, like they've done the process before, they understand, they can do that. But typically for a first-time buyer, I like to talk on the phone for a little bit and just get an idea of who they are, where they're at in their life, what their timeline is, what their future real estate goals are, because that's really important to what type of loan program you're going to choose. Whether they know if they can get gift funds, what their assets look like currently, like for their personal assets, where they're employed, like are they self-employed, what their income looks like, what type of documentation might we have to gather for their pre-approval, pulling their credit, that's a big piece of the pre-approval, like what types of liabilities do they have monthly, and just making sure to kind of really dial down all those big pieces for the application, and making sure that they're aware of like what the process takes, and that the pre-approval is probably going to be like the most annoying, time-consuming part. And just really, like answering any questions up front, because I hate when questions come up after we're in contract that, like I feel bad, I should have answered up front or given that information out up front. Like I feel like I didn't do my job. So just really, it's mostly answering questions, verifying any assets, any income, employment, credit. And then the next step would be taking in an application online or through a mobile app. And then I just look at that on my end, and we do have electronic verification tools, so we can verify employment and assets sometimes. But if we don't, we have to collect old school like bank statements and pay stubs and everything, and verifications of employment.
From the consumer end is very annoying, because I've been through it several times now.
Yep.
You're like, you process.
Want what again? You want my W-2s from 2016 that I can't find? What?
Yeah. I have to send out all those annoying emails. But yeah, just it depends lender to lender, because I could take an application. I could make it easy on myself. I could say, okay, here's a link to my app, go fill this out. And then based off of whatever they fill out, I could say, okay, great, you're pre-approved for this amount, go shop. Like that's easy on myself on the front end. But down the road, if they find a house and they get under contract, after writing an offer and everything and putting down earnest money and getting into that step, and something comes back about their income, that they didn't correctly calculate their income on the app or something, like that could be a deal breaker. So I'm super like, get everything up front.
For sure.
Like, let me understand your full picture. Let me basically make this loan easy. Like, let me make it hard in the beginning and then let me pre-approve you. And then it's the fun and easy part.
So in general, is there kind of like a ratio? Like if you make this much and have this many assets, you can be pre-approved for X amount?
So I would say like it depends. I would say it depends a lot more on liabilities, and like a lot of stuff kind of goes into, we calculate stuff based on DTI. I'm trying to find like the best way to say this. Something called DTI, which is your debt to income ratio. So we look at your debts that show up on your credit report, and we look at your income. Those are two of the biggest pieces. And we look at what your proposed monthly housing payment will be with the mortgage.
Gotcha.
So, I would say hypothetically, if someone themselves or them with a co-borrower, their qualifying income, say that comes back at $8,000 a month. Like say that's two people combined on a loan, $8,000 of income a month. We pull their credit. They have good credit. Say they have 720 credit score.
Yeah.
And on their credit report shows about $800 in monthly liabilities. So they make $8,000 a month, $800 in monthly liabilities. And I would say that they would qualify for about a $450,000 home.
Huh.
Okay. And then,
Okay.
And that's with 3% down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that is reaching the point of almost a jumbo loan, correct?
Jumbo loans now, so the conforming limit just changed in 2020. So the conforming loan limit now is $510,400.
Okay.
So anything above that in the loan amount is a jumbo loan.
Gotcha.
And that's, that's a whole different
Yeah,
ball
that
game.
is not a
That's like-
first-time home buyer's loan.
I mean, hey, you never know. But so the $450,000 that I was saying kind of for that scenario, that's the purchase price. So then 3% with 3% down, the loan amount would be a little bit lower.
Gotcha.
Or
Interesting.
38.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
So
in my
I mean,
head.
I'll throw my example out there. So my house was a little over $500,000. We ended up putting like 15% down. So my loan ended up being about $442 roughly. So over $500,000 house, my loan is $440 something. So it's the difference between your down payment, the price of the house is your loan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that was under the conforming limit. I think it was like $484,350 last year.
Yep. It's close.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah. And so anything under that, it's just a straight conventional unless you're going to use a different product.
For
but
sure.
yeah, the big misconception, new word of the day.
Words are hard sometimes.
Yeah. So you put 15% down, and a lot of people think they have to put 20% down. Like that's what their mom or grandma or someone told them, and it's not true. I mean,
What is the advantage versus the disadvantage of 20% versus under 20%?
so that's a good question. 20% down will put you, that's like directly investing into your real estate savings account. Like I would say if you're going to put 20% down, and that's definitely doable for you on top of closing costs and everything, you're putting 20% into your equity immediately. So that would be the benefit. Your monthly payments are going to be lower. Your interest rate is probably going to be helped a little bit.
No mortgage
Credit
insurance, correct?
No mortgage. Yeah. That's a big one. No mortgage insurance when you put 20% down. But, nowadays 20% down on
It's a lot of money.
an expensive home is a lot of money, and not like for a first time home buyer, it's really hard to reach that point. So you're saving for 20% down, but house prices are appreciating by like 4% a year.
Well,
so like as you're saving, houses are increasing in price.
Yeah.
So sometimes, people don't have 20% down, or even if they have 10% down, they don't want to completely deplete their assets. So maybe keep 5% in a savings account for moving expenses and new furniture, and maybe invest that amount and use 5% down, because your loan terms are going to be pretty similar. Your monthly payments can be pretty similar. Your mortgage insurance won't be like crazy expensive.
Well, and people aren't staying in their house for 30 years anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Period.
I'm getting ready to sell my house, and I've only had it for less than 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, things change in life, and it's becoming more common for you to like buy and sell homes, and it's, not a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
And so like one thing for me when I was buying my house is like I had the 20%, and then someone informed me of closing costs and how expensive closing costs were, and there goes my 20%, because I had to take part of that 20% and pay my closing costs, which were like $15,000.
Jeez.
No one expects to pay $15,000 on top of their down payment,
Right.
and that just slaps you upside the head, and it's like, oh, there goes my 20%.
Oh my God, that is scary.
I mean, that's something as a young buyer, no one educates you on, like, oh, there's your down payment, there's your earnest money, which goes towards your closing costs, right? And then there's the rest of your closing costs. So you have to come up with like what they've told me, basically 10% on top of your down payment.
Well, it's like 12 months in taxes,
Yeah.
12 months in insurance to put into an escrow
Yeah.
account. You have all of your title fees. You have some lender
And
fees.
these,
Like,
you're not getting around
Wow, there's so
Yeah.
much that goes into that.
Yeah.
you can get a seller concession. I don't know if you talked to your realtor about that at all.
these. Because I bought brand new, there was nothing they could do for me with that.
Oh, so it was a new construction.
Yeah, it was a new construction.
Okay.
And they don't do seller concessions for new construction because the seller's the builder.
Yeah.
They're like fly kite. But one thing that like worked well for us, and I'm sure this probably happens to you all the time, is making mortgage companies compete for the loan, and sending them your disclosures back and forth saying like, Megan's going to do this for me. What can you do? And then they come back, Sally's going to do this for me. What can you do? And making your mortgage people compete and reduce your fees.
Yeah.
That helps a lot. I did that with, I just refinanced my house.
Hey.
And I was looking at, Wells Fargo because they already had held my loan. And then I was looking at Finance of America, and I made them compete. And it actually ended up saving me a lot of money.
Wow.
I ended up saving like $10,000 in closing costs. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So make sure when you do that, I'm just going to say, because I get that
Yeah.
From consumers, and that actually happened to me recently where a client came to me and was like, hey, what you quoted was more expensive than this other lender, so I'm going to go with them. And I was like, can you at least just like send me the loan estimate?
Let me see.
Like,
yeah,
I'm just curious
for sure.
because, we all work off of the very similar, or if not the same pricing, because we're all in the same market.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the banks in the world and a lot of those lenders, they have, what they'll do is they pull their quotes online, and sometimes you may not even need to submit a full app or give any documentation to like get a quote like that. So they'll assume you have like an 800 credit score and you have 20%
Yes.
down, and they'll assume, and like in the fine print, they'll be charging you like 2% in a fee to get the interest rate that they're quoting. So like that,
Yeah.
just like be really careful. And it's like,
Yes.
like
Good
as
to know.
a loan officer, like, seeing that all the time, like,
There's a catch.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and so one thing, not to knock Wells Fargo or anything, but they're a big company. They do a lot of loans. That's what they, they're good at it.
Yeah.
But one thing I found to be the downfall with them is there was no personal touch to go through my loan with me on like why it was this and why my payment was this and like so on and so forth. And, the person I used through Finance of America took the time to explain it. And I think, Megan has that personal touch.
Right.
Just being
The
her-
trust factor
yeah,
of working through it.
Just being her friend, I know that like if I were to go to Megan with my loan, you're going to have everything explained and you're not going to have any questions coming out of it. And I think that's just who you are.
yeah. I think, working with a local lender and even being new, I have like tons of experience to help me at my office if I ever have any questions. But yeah, like just explaining the process, adding the personal touch.
Yeah.
Like I send mailers, I give closing gifts, I come to closings. Like that's
Yeah.
not super common for a lender to do. And just like being available, like always having my phone on me, answering
Right.
texts. Like I treat my clients like my friends. So, like I was just on the phone with a client after hours in the car outside. And it's just like, that's how I run my business. And some people might not like that. And some people might not do that. But that's what I like to do, because if I had a question for my lender, like most people work 8 to 5. And so, they don't have access to their phone or their email during important times during the loan. And so I provide that like extra
Little
service
touch.
and the extra touches.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like,
See, I don't like
Yeah.
people that don't have that mindset. Like if this is your business and you pretty much ride or die with your clients as far as your income for your family that you support, like you should be available to them almost whenever.
Well, we're
Like-
talking like $500,000 here. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
this
trusting
is-
you with a lot of money.
Like you said, this is the biggest investment you'll ever make, likely in your life. You should be their right hand.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
always, you
Yeah.
know, like sure, there might be instances where you just can't call them at this very moment, But that day, you're in direct communication with them. I just think that's unacceptable if you're like, 8 to 5, I'm sorry, I'm at a golf tournament, I'll call you on Monday. Like, I don't know, that just kind of like would frustrate me if
that's one thing that I had
wasn't.
a huge issue with is like they were requesting information and I had questions about information they were requesting and I couldn't get a hold of anyone, and then no one called me back for 3 weeks, and I was like, okay, well, if you're not going to be personable with my giant loan, bye. Like I
no excuses.
So you're a new buyer, you've been pre-approved, you found the home, what's next?
So you found the home, you've been completely, by me, pre-approved, which is not like, hey, here's a quote. It's like, I've looked at everything. Like, you're good to go. You shop with your realtor, you find a house, they talk you through putting an earnest money deposit down, which is like a security deposit on the home, shows the seller that you're interested and, you're putting money down. Then if that gets accepted, the seller will look through the offers, however many there are. If yours is exactly what they're looking for or the best out of the offers, and that gets accepted, then you get under contract. So, after that, you would let me know and I would start setting up the loan. I would send out initial disclosures, which includes the loan estimate. It shows all the terms broken out, and like some things can still change. And then we'd talk about locking your rate, and we'd talk about kind of next steps on my end with the going through underwriting, and the underwriting decision, and then the appraisal happening. And then you talk with your realtor on your end about the inspection period. And, I'm sure you went through all of that, just making sure that everything's checked off. And then, you just kind of continue through the process, and the underwriter looks at the loan, we get it back. I send you any documentation requests that I need, and then send that back in. You set up your homeowner's insurance. The underwriter takes a look again, gives a clear to close, and then you're already like signing documents. So that's like, it should go really smoothly, but sometimes when we run into issues is when not everything's verified up front.
That was one thing I was going to comment on, is it sounds like by you being so hands-on in the pre-approval process, your underwriting goes a lot more smooth. My underwriting process was a giant shit show because they didn't ask for all this documentation that the underwriter wanted, and so we were constantly uploading documents, and then if we ran into the next month, we had to upload again. And that happened several times where we were like spending hours just uploading documents because we didn't get it right the first time. They wanted more stuff, and then we ran into the next month, so they had to have the updated version of what that looked like.
Oh my gosh.
And so the pre-approval process was short and sweet to the point, which cool, but then it made the actual approval and the underwriting of getting the loan a lot more hectic.
Yeah. I mean, did you have to provide documents up front when you did the pre-approval?
We just did like the application online, and that was it. That's all they asked for.
Yeah. I mean, I do things differently, and it does take more time up front, and I do lose some clients because of it. They'll say like, oh, like this is a lot of work, but I'm like, are you serious about buying a home?
Yeah.
Like this is a big deal. Like I'm going to need to see all this down the road. Like I want to,
sure.
And especially if I'm going to be referring to a real estate agent, I want to make sure like I give them to the real estate agent and say, this buyer is pre-approved for this amount. Like this is their max. I've had this conversation with them, and this is going to be like right in their sweet spot. Let's try to get seller consent. Like we know exactly what we want. So it doesn't waste the realtor's time. It doesn't waste the client's time. Like, all the back and forth can just be a headache. And so it's like, just do all the work up front. Like just do it all. And I feel like clients should want the same. And if you coach someone correctly and you do tell and you tell them that, and you tell them like, look, it's going to be painful in the beginning, maybe a little bit, depending on how good you are at saving documents. But
that's a disaster.
Organizational stuff.
Pull your W-2 shreds out of the shredder, please, and tape them back together and send them.
Oh my God, that'd be a heartache if you didn't have your W-2s. That was when you guys brought that up earlier. I was like, oh, crap. Like, do I have my W-2?
They were like 2 years prior.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I
Same
think
with
I'm
tax
good,
returns.
but yeah.
So,
I mean, that
yeah.
would make sense.
Just take note of that. Keep 2 years worth of like financial information because they're gonna ask for it.
That's a really good point to make for like if you're looking to buy in the future, like make sure you're looking at your credit, saving all of your important documents.
Because like I've noticed that 720 is like the number. If you're below that, your loan goes up.
You're just not gonna.
Yeah, I mean they'll still give you a loan for sure, but like your risk goes up, and like 720 is like the hot spot. Like we want you 720 or higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like so there's different tiers of credit.
Yeah.
720 is one of them. 740 is like a step above.
Yeah.
I mean, you can qualify for a loan at 580 credit.
Yeah.
I have qualified someone for a loan at 580 credit because it was going to cost them $6,000 to increase their credit score to 600, and that just wasn't worth it in that specific situation. And they were really ready to move into a house, and down the road they can refi, and it was fine. And that was with an FHA program. But yeah, ideally, like for if you just want a conventional loan and you have all your ducks in a row, you have your assets, and if your credit's good and it's not going to take like years to rebuild, and it's not going to take $6,000 to increase the score, then like that's a good set point to have.
Yeah.
And Credit Karma and freecreditscore.com give you an idea where your credit's at.
Yeah, they always I've been told so far is like they pull it. There's like 3 different types of credit bureaus that they'll pull, and then they always take the middle one. So whatever your middle score is the one they take.
Yep,
Really?
not the highest
Not
one.
the highest,
the middle
not the
one.
lowest
That's
one,
interesting.
but the middle.
Yep.
Yeah. So one last question. Where can our listeners find you on social media if they want to contact you for
Or
mortgage or website?
Website. I don't know my website URL off the top of my head. But my Instagram is mortgage.with.megan. Mortgage with Megan. My name, I have a Facebook page. It's Megan Smith. And I mean, usually I just give out my business card, which has my contact info. So 916-606-4043. And my email is megan.smith@fairwaymc.com. I respond to texts, calls, emails.
Okay.
My website has an application button, but I like to have a conversation before that anyways. So
yeah,
awesome.
we'll add that all on the title too of this podcast.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
no,
if you want to
You'll be hooked up.
information, we'll for sure put it on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome.
I have 2 first-time homebuyer classes coming up as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So she's going to be super
it's good
knowledgeable.
timing.
Yeah.
One on Thursday at 6 p.m. and then one on Thursday, March 19th at 6 p.m.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dope. Send us that info
there.
too. We can
Awesome.
share that.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for coming in.
Yeah, we really
appreciate
appreciate
you
your time.
educating
Thank you, guys.
me a
Yeah.
ton and the audience.
Good. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But close it up.
You want me to close it up? All right,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you for joining us on the Cooper Brunner podcast. Once again, thank you, Megan Smith, for coming on and educating everyone about soccer and what the mortgage process looks like. Guys, like, subscribe. Words are hard. Comment, download. You know where to find us. Thanks, guys. We out.
Make today count. Peace.